Welcome, all you sinners and sodomites, to the new year.
Oh,
to
yeah.
2024.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
And welcome to episode 66 of Bible Stories for Atheists. I am Josh.
I'm Linz.
And we are your guides to the oddly ordinary stories, literally, littering the Bible. In this episode, we're covering 2 Samuel chapters 20 through 23.
Oh. Felt like forever.
I know, it really did. But that's mostly because
we hadn't done it in forever.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. Josh,
We're back.
Josh got a mental break,
got
some clarity, got some relaxation.
Shed a grandparent or two.
Yep. Got rid of some personal baggage.
Yeah. And we had the holidays,
yes,
which was nice. So we're back and we're getting back into following David as we get into the later years of his life with this one. So strap in and strap on for episode 66. Man cases gone wrong.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anywho, how are things?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good Christmas?
It was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have COVID?
Nope. Not that I know of.
Not that we know of. We'll see, though.
It was a fine day of myth and legend.
Yeah. Yeah. Or lack of it for us. Like, yeah, it was actually a fine day of not doing any of the myth and legend.
Well,
really.
We did open presents.
I mean, we opened presents and stuff like that.
And
we did the American shit.
An excellent dinner.
Yes.
And hung out with family. I'm pretty sure that covers a lot of it. Did you go to church on Christmas when you were younger?
No, I don't think so. No, we never went to church on Christmas.
No.
It was always at home.
You guys didn't
But
have
Catholics often do.
Yeah, they have Christmas Mass.
Christmas Mass.
They do midnight Mass sometimes.
Mass.
So they'll do it like right at midnight.
Right, the midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's midnight Christmas Eve, though, isn't it? Right.
Well, technically it would be.
Right,
Christmas.
but the night of Christmas Eve.
Right.
Right. And then, so, and it's actually like at midnight.
I don't fucking know.
guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, because it's like the release of a movie.
Sure.
Right. It needs to wait till a specific day in order to be played.
Right. I wonder why they started doing midnight Mass.
Yeah. Because they wanted to celebrate it as soon as possible.
Was he born at
Oh, I'm sure there are some people who think it was right at midnight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It would have been at nighttime.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's why they were in the manger, because they had stopped to sleep.
In theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if we even know if it was the same night.
Well,
or if they were staying there for a few days.
I don't think it ever
I
happened
remember.
at all. But
Right. Yeah. It clearly didn't, because only one version of it
Right.
talks about that. The other one doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. But we're not talking about Jesus. We're actually going back. This is the first time in a while that we're going
back to the Bible.
back to the Bible.
Guess who's back?
Yeah.
Back again.
So where we left off, because I don't know if you remember now that it's been like
I remember
12 months
tree.
since we
Somebody's
talked
head
about
got
it.
stuck in a tree. Was that the last one we did?
Yeah. So David's kid, Absalom, overthrew David.
Yep.
But it was just temporary.
Right, because he got his head stuck in a tree.
Yep. He was killed by a low-hanging branch.
Died.
Yep. For reasons not given, David decided to keep Amasa, who was Absalom's commander, even though he already had Joab serving as his commander. And there's never like a scene where he's like, sorry, we got to let you go, Joab.
Joab is his nephew?
Right. But is often also his scapegoat for whenever he needs some shit done.
Yeah.
So like every time one of his enemies needs to be killed, it's typically Joab who's killing them.
Yeah.
David had no idea it was going to happen. No. Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Now a scoundrel named Sheba happened to be there. He sounded the trumpet and cried out, "We have no portion in David, no share in the son of Jesse. Everyone, to your tents, O Israel." So all the people of Israel withdrew from David and followed Sheba, but the people of Judah followed their king steadfastly from the Jordan to Jerusalem. So we just got done with David's kid trying to overthrow him and everything, and immediately after that, we get a civil war.
Which is funny because, okay, it's been a really long time. So, like, there's probably going to be a lot of me asking questions of stuff that, like, if you're actually listening to this podcast, like, episode after episode, you'd probably be like, this bitch is an idiot.
Yeah.
But it's been over a month, I think.
It's been a couple
close
months
to a month
at
since
this
we
point.
recorded.
So we took a little hiatus. Yeah.
So the people of Judah have been behind David the whole time.
Right. That's his tribe. That's the tribe he comes from.
When he came back, I feel like the people of Israel kind of did a whole thing where they were like, "Oh,
you're right.
We stood behind you," or "What? Why we're with you, David," or something like that, right?
Yep.
And then Sheba
shows up.
This random person.
Yep. A scoundrel. Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. And
he shows up and he sounds a trumpet.
So the people of Israel were like, "We love David. We love David. Pay attention to us."
Yeah.
And then Sheba's like, "He won't pay attention to us. You should come with me instead." Right. Is that essentially?
Kind of. So the argument he would have from this, it sounds like to me, is basically he's saying, he's not from our tribe. So he's not. So yeah, he's not going to pay attention to us. He's not going to care about
revolt.
Us. Yeah.
Come with me. I will lead you.
Yeah. So another thing to keep in mind too is Judah is a huge tribe. Right. I can't remember if I remember correctly, it is the biggest tribe of the 12, 13, however many tribes. So many subdivisions eventually, but Judah was a huge one, so big powerhouse, right? Which is why you have it's its own country. It's Judea eventually. Like that. By the time Jesus comes around, they talk about Judea a lot. That's Judah.
Okay.
This is the problem: is it's one giant territory against a bunch of smaller territories vying for the king's favor.
Gotcha.
And the king is from the big one,
right?
From the big territory.
And then
I also just saw something about how they didn't pay taxes. People from Judah
didn't pay taxes,
but all the other tribes
kind of a shit move.
There's stuff like that that's not in here. It's just kind of like implied, or like they have a little bit of hints here and there to it, but there's stuff that's going unsaid.
Right. So, I guess maybe I just need to wait, but like, do we get any background
on who Sheba is?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. No information, which makes sense, right? Like if you think about like this from the perspective of this is like almost like government documents, like describing the history.
His story's been blacked out.
Kind of like you don't want to like give him a backstory that people could like cling on to and make a whole thing out of and
just that he's a scoundrel.
Yeah, that's all you need to tell people about him.
Maybe people back then.
Yeah.
This person needs a backstory.
I know. But I mean, again, it's like another clear sign that this it's not a story.
Right.
It's not like fairy tales or stuff like that. Like we like to tell ourselves the stuff is like, if you're trying to think of this as being benign and everything, but it's legitimately just a bunch of propaganda.
Right.
Political propaganda. Otherwise, you would tell the whole story.
Right. Yeah. You would need a background here. Although, you don't get a background for a lot of like Disney villains.
Right.
They just pop up and they're bad.
Yeah.
So, who am I to critique storytelling?
I mean, there's no musicals in this.
Where are these singing animals?
Yeah.
We only met one that had an intercom coming out of its butt or face. I can't remember.
I think you're talking about Balaam's donkey. Yeah, it was definitely the face.
Okay.
I think you're confusing it with oh God,
Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. So after that, we get a verse where it says, David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 concubines whom he had left to look after the house. You remember them? And put them in a house under guard and provided for them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up until the day of their death.
Oh my God.
Living as if in widowhood.
That's so fucked up.
I know. Good stuff. That's my note for that.
Because they were the ones that like hooked up with, or the Absalom fucked, right? I would say hooked up like they had a fucking choice.
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing is like, I'm sorry, but if you're a concubine and the person who is taking control is trying to fuck you, what are you going to do? Say no?
Well, yeah, right.
I mean, you probably could, and I don't know that it would matter.
Yeah.
And so now they're being punished by being put under house arrest, essentially.
You know what's funny is you say that, and my gut instinct is to reiterate, well, it's not that they're punished. And it's to give the bullshit answer, right? And the bullshit answer to that is they're not being punished. I mean, if they were being punished, they would have put them to death or something.
That would be a sweet release.
This is like he's giving them a house. He's providing for them. He's just not having sex with them for the rest of their life.
It sounds to me like they can't leave.
It does sound like that.
That is not.
Yep.
That is kidnapping.
They were shut up until the day of their death.
If you do that to a woman, you will go to jail. That is not
today.
Yeah. If you were like, Lindsay, you can't ever leave the house again, I'll bring food home for you.
Right. I've tried that many times and she never goes for it.
Keep leaving.
Stop leaving.
But if
goodness gracious,
if for some reason, like you had basically put me under house arrest and I couldn't leave, like you would definitely go to jail for the false imprisonment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But no, David's a great guy that we need to look up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He forgives them for fucking his son. But he certainly doesn't want to put his dick in him anymore.
No.
That's their whole reason for being.
Like, what is the point of them this even being in the story, really? You know?
I don't know. Is it supposed to make him sound like a good guy?
I don't think so.
It does not make him sound like a good guy.
No, it's a weird thing that he left I tried to say prostitutes, and that's not right.
No, because they're not getting paid.
No. He left the concubines there.
Yeah. To watch the house, which they did.
Which obviously is meant, because they're concubines, they call that out. It's meant for the son to come in and then have sex with them.
Right, they're a plot device.
He does. Yeah, it's totally a plot device, which he does. And then, which is supposed to be humiliating type of a thing to David.
So they got to wrap that story up somehow.
Right. And then
because people will have questions about what happened to the concubines. Who cares about Sheba's backstory?
Even in there? Like it didn't even like, none of the story hinged on it.
No.
You know what I mean?
It really does feel like somebody was writing this and was like, do you think people are going to ask about what happened to the concubines?
Yeah,
let's just put a blurb in. Do you think anybody's going to ask about who Sheba is? No, that's fine. Yeah. Scoundrel. That's all you need.
Should we go into more detail on how Absalom died? No. Let's just say a branch took him out. People will get it. It happens all the time.
I don't want to derail us too much, but I did look up like imagery for that.
Oh, really?
And there is definitely like two different camps of his head getting stuck in like a branch and his hair getting like tangled in branches.
That's an interesting idea.
But I'm like, if your hair is tangled in the branches.
Still, how did it get up there?
Yeah, and you're just hanging by your hair?
So you're like just whipping his head around. Is he like a headbanger?
Right. It's just a funny thing.
Death metal on his horse.
I can only imagine they did that because literally everyone was like, "What the fuck?"
Right. Yeah.
It was this long, luxurious hair got tangled in the branches.
Yeah. This is why so many Christians don't think men should have long hair.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah.
What it did for Samson.
Right. It's the same logic why Jehovah's Witnesses don't do birthdays. Just because something bad always happens when somebody
Jesus
has long
had
hair.
one, and then he died 32 years later.
I thought you were talking about him having long hair.
Oh.
Jesus had long hair and he died.
Birthday. The only
but he
birthday.
also had a birthday.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And he died.
And he died.
Fun fact, everyone who has had birthdays has died.
Yeah. Well, nope. I'm still alive and I have had birthdays.
Yeah. Everyone statistically is likely to die who has had birthdays.
Yes. I don't think birthdays are the cause of the death, though.
We don't know that, though.
Well, actually, technically, birthdays are the cause of a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
Because once you have a lot of them, you'll die.
Yeah. An excessive number of birthdays is a leading cause of death.
Do you think at some point somebody at the Jehovah's Witnesses was like, if we don't celebrate it, maybe we won't age?
Oh, God. I would not be surprised if that.
We'll live forever. Maybe that's the trick.
That's probably why Prince got involved in the Witnesses.
He was not aging, so maybe that was right.
Yeah.
It wasn't his age that took him out.
Yeah.
His painkillers.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. Let's not talk about Prince.
Yeah.
I feel like he still has power in this world.
Let's not talk. Anyway, so then there's some more of the story about David. David tells Amasa. So again, Amasa is that captain, the commander.
Absalom's commander.
From Absalom. Yeah.
Yep.
David tells Amasa to get all the men of Judah together in 3 days. Amasa goes out to gather the men, but apparently 3 days later, he still hasn't come back. David said to Abishai, "Now Sheba will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your lord's servants and pursue him, or he will find fortified cities for himself and escape from us." Joab's men went out after him. When they were at the large stone that is in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Now Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a belt with a sword in its sheath fastened at his waist. As he went forward, it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, "Is it well with you, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword in Joab's hand. Joab struck him in the belly so that his entrails poured out on the ground, and he died. He did not strike a second blow. Then Joab and his brother Abishai pursued Sheba. One of Joab's men took his stand by Amasa and said, "Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab." Amasa lay wallowing in his blood on the highway, and the man saw that all the people were stopping. Since he saw that all who came by him were stopping, he carried Amasa from the highway into a field and threw a garment over him. Once he was removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba.
I was really.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay, so sorry. Amasa is the person the
commander
that David sent out to get everyone, and he hadn't come back.
Yep.
So he sent.
I would say there's four main characters here.
Yep.
David.
Yep. Amasa.
There's Amasa, who's again the commander. There's under Absalom.
Yep.
There's Joab, who's the commander under David.
Right.
And then there's Sheba, who David has ordered them to pursue.
Right. And also Abishai, right? Or whatever.
Abishai, who's Joab's brother.
But that's who David talked to. I think I got a little confused at the beginning because he was talking to him, and then all of a sudden it was like Joab went out.
It really does kind of give me the impression like it's almost interchangeable, like the two brothers, like almost like they were supposed
David
to be
just doesn't want to be
person.
seen talking to Joab because of all the shady shit he's done.
Right.
So,
maybe.
So his brother has to relay all his messages to him.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So they come across Amasa.
Yep.
Who had been gathering people, or what was he doing? Lollygagging?
It does sound like he was gathering people, but he just wasn't getting there in time.
Right.
Is what it sounds like.
So death?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he wasn't ordered to be killed, according to this,
right?
Or anything like that. He just decides to kill the guy.
Yeah. Joab leaned in to give him a little hello kiss.
Yeah.
And Amasa's, but they made it very clear, like Amasa's sword fell. Right?
Now, Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a belt with a sword in its sheath fastened to his waist. As he went forward, it fell out.
Right.
Is what it says. And then it just goes into Joab said to Amasa, "Is it well with you, my brother?" And then he tries to kiss him.
Right. Okay, so
at some point in there, he gets the sword into his hand.
I think it's just the language that they're using thing that it maybe caused me a little confusion because I assumed when it said it fell out that it just like fell on the ground.
That's totally how I read it too.
But perhaps that's just a way they referred to like him taking it out of its sheath.
Yeah.
And I didn't know kissing was
thing.
Well, you know what? That's not true. I actually have heard that like people
Judas tried to kiss Jesus.
Yeah, and people in other countries still kiss each other.
Oh yeah, men.
Yeah. It's
heterosexual men.
Fucking Puritan Americans that have a problem with.
To this day, it's still common.
Heterosexual smooching.
Yeah, to this day, I believe it's common in Israel and that part of the world for men to hold hands. And stuff like that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Here I am expecting white American Quaker beliefs to be, not even Quaker, Puritan beliefs to be the same thing as what's in the fucking Bible.
Right. Yeah.
Falling into the white trap.
There's so many, though.
I know.
There's so many white traps.
I know. Okay, so he stabs him in the tummy and
spills
his
out
entrails.
The entrails.
Ugh, gross. Yeah. And so because there's him laying on the ground moaning because his insides are now on the outside.
On the side of the highway.
People are stopping.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, hey, somebody's dying right here. And
do you need some help, friend?
And so Joab's like, this is causing too much attention is being paid to this. So he drags him to a field and covers him up and leaves him there.
Yeah.
Ugh, what a fuck.
I'm trying to remember because it wasn't Joab. Then Joab, brother of Abishai, pursued Sheba when one of Joab's men took a stand. So it's not even Joab. It's one of his men. So just some random
pulled him into the field and covered him in a...
Yeah, is standing around him like being like, all right, follow Joab. Follow Joab while Amasa is lying there bleeding to death.
Right.
And, entrailing to death.
Entrailing to death.
Yeah. And then it's like when it's too distracting for everybody, he just drags them into the field.
All right.
Throws a blanket on them.
Move along.
Yep.
Nothing to see here.
There, all fixed. And nobody worries about the moaning lump in the field.
I'm getting better.
I think I can still walk. This next reading requires just a little bit of context. The town that we're in for this is called Abel. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel. Joab's forces came and besieged him. They threw up a siege ramp against the city, and it stood against the rampart. Joab's forces were battering the wall to break it down. Then a wise woman called from the city, "Listen! Listen! Tell Joab, come here. I want to speak to you." He came near her, and the woman said, "Are you Joab?" He answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Listen to the words of your servant. They used to say in the old days, 'Let them inquire at Abel,' and so they would settle the matter. I am one of those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of the Lord? Joab answered, Far be it from me, far be it, that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not the case, but a man of the hill country of Ephraim called Sheba has lifted up his hand against King David. Give him up alone, and I will withdraw from the city. The woman said to Joab, His head shall be thrown over the wall to you. Then the woman went to all the people with her wise plan, and they cut off the head of Sheba and threw it out to Joab. So he blew the trumpet, and they dispersed from the city, and all went to their homes, while Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Wise plan.
You had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
You don't really do voices that often.
No.
You gave them both a little voice there.
Yeah. She just felt like an old woman because of the wise thing.
Yeah.
The wise quote unquote thing.
Right.
But and then he like the
Like
get,
your little
like,
ha ha
the far be it from me. Far be it. Like
Yeah.
that, like, how do you not read it like that?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for her. Solving problems.
Yeah. I don't think like, oh, we'll just behead the guy and throw his head over the wall. I don't think that's really a wise plan. It's a plan.
Yeah.
It's not a bad plan.
Well,
I guess.
she saved everybody.
She did. Yeah.
So
I just
kind of wise. Well, the wise part of it.
When it's considered wise because you did what they wanted,
Right.
what King David wanted, that's.
Well, it's the train track thing, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's the wise part of it. Like, will you kill one
dilemma.
person? Yeah. To save a bunch of people.
Right.
And essentially she made that call. Yes, 100%. We will kill this one guy to save all the rest of us.
Right. I mean, she didn't even
she didn't think about it. She just knew.
Like, yeah, I'll go get his head right now.
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't even like, that wasn't even what he wanted. He was just like, bring him out here. And she was like, oh no, we'll give you his head.
We'll give you his head.
Yeah. We're going to keep the rest.
We don't really want to open the gates to let him out. So we're just going to throw it over, throw the head over.
We don't want any of you in here.
Right.
But we will give you his head and then you'll go away.
Right.
And it worked.
It did.
So, I mean, who are you to say it wasn't wise?
I know. She might have been wise, I guess.
I still good for her.
It's wise because it wasn't like, we'll throw over his foot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yet another woman, unnamed.
Yes.
In the
unnamed.
Bible, who does something, fucking another badass woman who's willing to kill somebody for the betterment of society. And
like the idea that she actually is the one who did it too.
Of course. She probably was like, bring him to me. Cut to her sign off his head.
She's all bloody. Yeah.
And you just hear, here you go. Flies over the wall.
Thank you. Then it says that Joab was in command of all the army of Israel.
Yeah.
It also says that someone named Adoram was in charge of the forced labor. So,
the slaves.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah.
But,
who was the forced labor?
The guy named Adoram.
No. Who was the forced labor again? Just anyone who wasn't an Israelite, probably?
Mostly it would be people who weren't Israelites, but Israelites could also end up being forced labor too. So anyway, I just want to call that out. Like Joab's mentioned as like, now he's in charge of all
and they
Israel.
just had to throw out something that didn't fucking matter. Any of the stories, or they?
Are you talking about the forced labor thing? They were listing out several people. Like this is who they and I was
like in a newspaper.
I'm not gonna like read all that out. Like
King's
we just
books of people,
kind of
staff, whatever.
They mentioned Abiathar again as his priest.
Oh,
who we talked about several times early on.
Okay,
so that guy's still around, but
gotcha. I think it's important to point out the fucking boring. I mean, I say that.
It's all boring.
It's mostly all boring. There's some interesting. I find the idea of a little old lady cutting a head off kind of exciting.
We try to zhuzh it up.
Right. Zhuzh
it up.
I don't like the way you're saying it. Yeah, zhuzh. Yeah, zhuzh. There are a lot of lists in the Bible, and you skip over almost all of them. But I think every once in a while it's important to remind people that, like, also in the middle of this exciting story about the lady cutting the head off that we're assuming was her doing it and throwing it over the wall, there was also this giant list of staff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A giant waste of life. Now, there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Lord. The Lord said, "There is a blood guilt on Saul and on his house because he put the Gibeonites to death." So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now, the Gibeonites were not of the people of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites, although the people of Israel had sworn to spare them. Saul had tried to wipe them out in his zeal for the people of Israel and Judah. David said to the Gibeonites, "What shall I do for you? How shall I make expiation, that you may bless the heritage of the Lord?" The Gibeonites said to him, "It is not a matter of silver or gold between us and Saul or his house. Neither is it for us to put anyone to death in Israel. The man who consumed us and planned to destroy us so that we should have no place in all the territory of Israel, let 7 of his sons be handed over to us, and we will impale them before the Lord at Gibeon on the mountain of the Lord." The king said, "I will hand them over." But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Saul's son Jonathan, because of the oath of the Lord that was between them. The king took the 2 sons of Rizpah and the 5 sons of Merab, and he gave them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they impaled them on the mountain before the Lord. The 7 of them perished together. They were put to death in the first days of harvest at the beginning of barley harvest.
It doesn't matter. I guess it just gives you a time and place,
Right.
probably for people back then.
Yeah. So David's pretty pro-life.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's funny that they're like, "Who are we to put people to death?" And then they're like, "Except these 7 people,
Right.
we will put them to death."
Yeah.
For something their father did, who is now dead. Seems stupid.
Yeah. And it's interesting too that there's a famine that God apparently caused because there's a blood guilt, you know.
Right.
So God
caused a famine because of something Saul did.
Right.
Saul.
Long time ago.
Right. And
why then? Right. Yeah.
Why?
Because most likely
there was a famine and somebody needed to fucking explain why.
Well, actually, so if you're really reading between the lines, I would bet there was a famine. The Gibeonites probably had some food or something like that. And so David needs it. And they're like, we had this treaty and Saul broke it. So sure, you can have the food, but we want 7 of his sons,
Right.
or something like that. Or David was like, "Hey, I need to get rid of 7 of Saul's sons." What can you give me?
They eat a lot of food. They're causing the famine. These fuckers won't stop eating. How can I get rid of them? I think the Gibeonites hate them. So maybe we'll just see if they'll do the job for us.
Right. Yeah. Yet again, though, people conveniently that in theory would be like a threat to David's line and everything are being killed. I don't know where Saul keeps getting more sons.
Oh my God.
I thought they had all been wiped out except for Mephibosheth.
Right.
So
many.
Yeah.
Apparently he was just fucking around all over the place.
Yeah. But you can't get through a story without somebody saying that David's a good guy. So here's this. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it on the rock for herself. From the beginning of harvest until rain fell on them from the heavens, she did not allow the birds of the air to come on the bodies by day or the wild animals by night. When David was told what Rizpah had done, David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan from the people of Jabesh Gilead. He brought up from there the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan, and they gathered the bones of those who had been impaled. They buried the bones of Saul and of his son Jonathan, in the land of Benjamin and Zelah. In the tomb of his father Kish, they did all that the king commanded. After that, God heeded supplications for the land. So he's a good guy. He went and got their remains, and he made sure they were all together with their remains, with the bones.
I was going to say, how many times can you say bones in one paragraph?
Some of that is going to be like editing. Like I had to cut a bunch of stuff out. So much of this was like when Ritzpah, daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done and everything. It's like Ritzpah. And so
she was the mom of one of some of the kids, right? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah.
So I can't remember whether she had the 2 or the 5.
So actually, let's see. So Ritzpah, daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul. So these might have been grandsons.
Okay, because didn't it said earlier that some of them were
daughters of Ritzpah,
sons of Ritzpah,
or sons of Ritzpah? Yeah,
right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Ritzpah goes and puts herself on a rock next to the bodies, and basically is just chasing away birds and animals.
Yes,
the whole time.
Yep.
And David feels bad because she's out there. And so he goes and gets the bones of Saul and Jonathan.
Right. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a little story right after they died about people, these folks going and getting them from their enemy, getting the remains of them from their enemies, giving them like a proper burial, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a callback to that story.
Okay. But he goes and gets them.
Yeah.
And buries them all together. Instead of taking the bodies of the sons and taking them to where Saul and Jonathan were buried, which is, I assume, where the people who took the bones wanted them to be buried.
I guess. Yeah.
Just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
I would have just taken the 7 bodies of the sons and been like, yeah, I'll go bury them with their dad, and then like tossed them in a garbage on the way home.
Might be what he did. This is just what he had written.
That's true. They could have not even been Saul's and Jonathan's bones.
Right. Yeah. Could have been like a goat.
They went back and got what's his name's bones from that field. And
Amasa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I don't know how that makes him a good guy, but whatever.
Yeah, it just, he cared so much for Saul. Still, again, we're still getting that.
And he gave up 7 of his sons.
They killed their sons, but then he
felt bad.
He felt bad, so he had them all, buried together.
Right.
So,
makes it all better.
Fair and square. The Philistines went to war again with Israel. And David went down together with his servants. They fought against the Philistines, and David grew weary. Ishbi-Benob, one of the descendants of the giants, whose spear weighed 300 shekels of bronze and who was fitted out with new weapons, said he could kill David. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to his aid and attacked the Philistine and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, "You shall not go out with us to battle any longer, so that you do not quench the lamp of Israel." After this, a battle took place with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sibbecai killed Saph, who was one of the descendants of the giants. Then there was another battle with the Philistines at Gob, and Elihan killed Goliath the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. There was again a war at Gath, where a man of great size, who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number, he too was descended from giants. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of David's brother Shimei, killed him. These 4 were descended from the giants in Gath. They fell by the hands of David and his servants.
We killed a bunch of giants.
I know. They're giant killers.
It sounds to me, based on the description of the last giant, that maybe they were a little bit inbred. And it might not have been super hard to kill them.
What's funny is I thought the way you were going with that was like, it sounds to me like maybe David and his men were just short.
I mean...
They just thought these guys
everybody
were
was giants.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, yeah. Yeah.
Extra fingers and toes are never a good sign of breeding.
No.
Sorry to any of our listeners that might have extra fingers and toes. I don't know.
You might
want to look into your history.
It does seem weird where it's like 6 fingers on each hand and 6 fingers on each foot. Like six fingers on each foot.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. But like 6 toes, like that doesn't sound so much like inbreeding or anything like that as it does like an actual like mutation, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, probably. Let's be honest. Probably.
Not a ton of giants.
No.
And I would imagine dude giants aren't really like walking around fucking normal sized ladies.
Right. And we don't get the description.
And then they're alive to have a baby.
Yeah. And we don't get the physical description of them that we do with Goliath.
The first
Goliath.
Yeah. It just says they're descendants. So maybe they're just not as big. Because they keep saying descended from giants.
He was a descendant from the giants too, even though he was himself a giant.
And he was only like 9 feet tall.
I know.
Giant killers.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're really making this sort of name for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see how even this would be kind of propaganda-y of
right.
like, oh, David's got men who kill giants.
Yeah. They're walking around. Much like the Sons of Thunder.
Yeah.
From the later books. Now we got the giant killers walking around in their fucking members only jackets.
Right.
The patch on the back.
Members only jackets. I kind of wonder if somebody killed somebody huge named Goliath and David was like, I want to kill somebody named Goliath. Like, I want to have that story about me too. Let's do that and let's fill in some more details on it,
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's interesting that there was 2 giants named Goliath.
Right.
But
well, it might be a family name.
Maybe. his brother uncle or his daddy uncle was
his grunkle.
His grunkle was Goliath. Yeah. And then with this, we finally start getting some overlap with First Chronicles again. So like for a long period here, these were stories that weren't showing up in Chronicles. The chronicler, the guy who wrote the Chronicle, probably guy who wrote the Chronicles, might not have been, but probably was.
Woman could hold writing utensils.
No. Couldn't hold all those letters in their head. The chronicler came 300 years later, and he wouldn't include any of the stories that he thought were negative against David. Right. So like a bunch of stuff just doesn't show up in Chronicles. Anyway, so now we're getting back to where you have this in here also.
Okay. I see what you're getting at. Because we've been doing both.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff you've been covering hasn't been in Chronicles.
Exactly.
But now we're getting back to where it is.
Right. Including this. And so it's almost exactly the same. The names are a little different. Also, they say Elihan killed the brother of Goliath the Gittite instead of Goliath the Gittite himself.
Yes, clarifying notes there.
Yeah. Just little inconsistencies that, you could say are errors unless you want to ignore them.
Right.
So.
Or corrections. Since he did it 300 years later, he could have been reading the original and said well, it's weird that they're both named Goliath. Why are there 2 Goliaths? And then,
there's either way, there's 2 Goliaths. They're saying the person that this guy killed was the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, instead of killing Goliath, the Gittite themselves. So there's Goliath and then there's Goliath, the Gittite.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So either way, there's 2 Goliaths.
Okay.
But yeah. But I get what you're saying. So the chronicler, though, very likely, very, very likely only had the Samuel and King's text to go off of.
Right.
Like they didn't have any more information than we do about this. That's why almost everything that they write is verbatim.
Sure.
Math is hard. We get a chapter that is a psalm of David's.
Okay.
We talked about this before, but scholars think that when the Bible says a psalm was written by David, actually they mean he probably had it written. Like he was a patron of poets. So anyway, this is a little bit of his poetry. I'm not going to play all of it. But you can get an idea of what he's going for here.
Okay.
Then the earth reeled and rocked. The foundations of the heavens trembled and reeled because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils and devouring fire from his mouth. Glowing coals flamed forth from him. He bowed the heavens and came down. Thick darkness was under his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew. He was seen upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness around him a canopy, thick clouds, a gathering of water. Out of the brightness before him, coals of fire flamed forth. So I think David thinks God is a dragon.
Well, and the funny thing in my head, because I don't know about you, but I know what I've learned through art that a cherub is.
Yeah, the little fat baby.
Cute little fat baby angels.
Yeah.
And this says that he was riding a cherub.
I think we should stick with that idea of what
Which means, and now I'm like, was it cherubs and he had like one on each foot? Or like...
Nope, one. He's got a little saddle on it.
Okay.
Like a big guy riding a little tiny penny
baby
horse. Anyway, so a cherub, according to the Bible, is more like, kind of like a sphinx or something like that. It's like a half a lion, part griffin. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head what all
I wonder where we got to baby angels.
Yeah, there's some sort of artistic. I think that was like the Renaissance or something like that where it came in. But
okay, so this was
basically just a bunch of pedophile artists. Honestly, probably
likely. You're probably right. So that he wrote this poem about, or he had this poem written about God.
Yeah.
What is God's mad about something? It sounds like. But was this just, he was just like, let's write a poem about God being mad and coming to earth?
Yep.
So that everybody,
I would say
that everybody knows what God's like when he gets mad. Just in case.
He can be a real queen.
So Joe, let's do a bunch of stuff so that, not to make God mad.
Makes a whole entrance.
And one of the things you can do to not make God mad is to worship and love me.
Right. Yeah.
Because I am God's chosen one.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make him mad because listen to what will happen.
Well, it's funny you say that. Because after that, and I have in my notes here, you can't have a song about David without some propaganda.
Yeah.
The Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he has recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his ordinances were before me, and from his statutes I did not turn aside. I was blameless before him, and I kept myself from guilt. Therefore the Lord has recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. Looking up recompensed.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's basically recompensated.
Make amends to someone for loss or harm suffered. Compensate. Yeah. So when he talks about his hands being clean, he just means of blood, right?
Yeah. He's just saying and literally this comes after the dragon god. Dragon, maybe a paragraph or so later, but
a dragon. Okay. Any of our listeners who are artists out there, please draw me a picture of a dragon god riding a baby angel.
So most of it is that, of dragon god riding a baby angel. And then just in the, right before it's done, he's just like,
I'm awesome.
Yeah. And God knows it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's just so weird.
Even though the only interaction we've gotten with God, almost this entire time, except for like at the very beginning, was him causing the famine and only giving them relief once not even once the 7 sons were killed. It was after he buried
the bones together.
And then God was like, all right, fine, let there be, I don't know, food, I guess.
Right.
Or however, somebody water the plants.
Yeah. Give it more Brondo.
Yeah. Brondo.
And Idiocracy.
Yeah.
So, he's getting to be a prissy little bitch here.
Getting to be.
Yeah, with this. I mean, and when I think prissy little bitch, I think Donald Trump. Like, try listening to this next piece and not hearing it as Donald Trump.
You delivered me from strife with the peoples. You kept me as the head of the nations. People whom, frankly, I had not known served me. Foreigners came cringing to me. As soon as they heard of me, they obeyed me. Foreigners lost heart and came trembling out of their strongholds. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Did you get your guy again to do it?
Yeah.
Making some bucks off you.
Yeah. Especially when it was like over the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's funny.
Yeah.
No, definitely the people who I didn't even know obeyed me.
Yeah.
Obeyed me. Foreigners came to me and said, I will obey.
Right.
They just looked at me.
Big guys, tears in their eyes.
And it's a lot of bravado. It's a lot of self-congratulatory behavior. Yeah. It's a lot of narcissism, for sure.
It's a lot of xenophobia.
Yeah.
you know? It's all the Trump boxes. It's really weird.
Well, but honestly, like anybody who's grown up in like wealth and also been given power, it's probably not like, it definitely is a Trump thing, but it's not just a Trump thing.
That's a really good point, because you're right. Like a lot of overlap in theory, according to the Bible, David had modest upbringings and everything. But who knows? Yeah. Really, it did sound like his dad was probably pretty prominent, actually. Because he was I think a pretty big sheep herder.
Right. And if you have, back then you have a lot of livestock, you are you're not in, they're yours. You're not raising them for somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was a rich kid. Yeah. He definitely was hanging out with a bunch of rich kids.
Well, and he went and moved in with Saul at like 12, something like that, I
think he was 17, but
well,
I think, but it might not have said.
I feel like he was 12 when we first meet him.
Yeah,
and he's out in the field. He was like 12 or something.
Yeah, he was the youngest, I think. Yeah. And then chapter 23 starts with, now these are the last words of David, and we get a short poem or a psalm or whatever, which is a good sign that it's not actually the last words of David. The oracle of David, son of Jesse, the oracle of the man whom God exalted, the anointed of the God of Jacob, the favorite of the strong one of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord speaks through me. His word is upon my tongue. The God of Israel has spoken. The Rock of Israel has said to me, one who rules over people justly, ruling in the fear of God, is like the light of morning, like the sun rising on a cloudless morning, gleaming from the rain on the grassy land. Is not my house like this with God? For he has made me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things and secure. Will he not cause to prosper all my help and desire? But the godless are like thorns that are thrown away, for they cannot be picked up with the hand. To touch them, one uses an iron bar or the shaft of a spear, and they are entirely consumed in fire on the spot. I really hate it how people are always using iron bars to touch me because I'm godless.
Not gonna lie, I did not follow that.
I know. And you didn't need to. I literally just included this because it said it's his last words.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have any bearing on the story or anything. And he's not dying.
Right.
He doesn't die he's not going to die in the next episode even.
Well, like, is this just like a glimpse into the future? Like,
I don't know.
Are these going to be his last words?
This is clearly just something that they threw in.
Yeah.
At some point.
Okay. I guess more than anything, I was just trying to figure out like what he was trying to say.
Just that God is paving a path for his line. He's always going to have one of his heirs on the throne,
and that people can't touch him if they're godless.
And yeah, like that God, God is great, and godless people are terrible.
I see.
It's just there's really not much substance to it,
right? Other than he called himself a lot of things, like an oracle and the chosen one.
That was part of that intro.
Yeah.
And then next we get a section that the NRSV Bible calls David's Mighty Men.
Oh.
Yeah. And it lists off a bunch of David's warriors. But first, it starts by talking about the three, quote unquote. The leader of the three apparently once wielded his spear against 800, whom he killed at one time, unquote. And we get this short story. Toward the beginning of the harvest, 3 of the 30 chiefs went down to join David at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then at Bethlehem. David said longingly, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem that is by the gate." Then the 3 warriors broke through the camp of the Philistines, drew water from the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and brought it to David. But he would not drink it. He poured it out to the Lord, for he said, "The Lord forbid that I should do this. Can I drink the blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives?" Therefore he would not drink it. The 3 warriors did these things. That's literally how it reads. The 3 warriors did these things. Yeah.
I have a lot of feelings about a person that asks for something that is hard to get.
Yeah.
Because they know somebody will do it, and somebody does it, and then he's like, "I can't drink this."
No, I don't want it. I don't actually want it.
How can I drink this? You guys could have died getting this for me.
Yeah.
Which I knew when I asked for it.
Just wanted to know that you would do it for me.
And if I were one of the 3, I would be like, why?
How pissed. I'll fucking drink it.
Yeah.
Then. I'm thirsty.
Give me that goddamn water. It was my blood. I'll drink it.
Yeah.
I'll drink to my own blood. I don't fucking care.
I'll drink to their blood too. They came with me.
Because the minute he was like, "I really wish somebody would bring me water from that well in Bethlehem."
Yeah. That
everyone around him was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
Write down that name.
And it reminds me of the, I don't know. This, I guess, is one of the times where my Kevin Smith stuff comes up. But like in Evening with Kevin Smith, where he talks about going and, do you see a ghost?
No, I was about to turn and look at check the time while you were talking.
You looked to the side like you saw something. I was like, "Did you see a ghost?"
Say that again.
In An Evening with Kevin Smith, where he talks about going to film Prince.
Yeah.
And he asks, like, he was basically asking questions on, like, why does he ask for stuff that he knows he's not going to use, or like, and she was basically like, he just wants to make sure people will get him. Like, he doesn't grasp the concept of like, he can't have something.
Right.
So like I think one of the stories she told was like, he wanted, like, they're in Minnesota and he wanted like a camel.
at midnight
in like the winter.
Right.
And they were like, no, Prince, you can't have that. And he's like, why? I'm Prince.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what that story, when David was like, I really want water from that. You know, that one well in Bethlehem.
So now we're going to have to go down this road because this bothers the shit out of me every time I hear about the power of positive thinking.
Right.
And like it's so fucking easy for rich people who are rich,
right,
to be able to just think of something
like
they
Oprah
want
the
to
fucking
happen.
Secret.
Like Oprah and the Secret, where they just want, like you think about it, you think about how much you want it, and you mention it to somebody who gets shit for you. Right. And it'll happen,
It'll happen somehow, miraculously.
Yeah.
It happens. And it's like, well, somebody had the most stress in their lives.
Right.
Trying to figure this out for you. And you're like, my brain is magical.
Yeah. And I used my powers for bad this time, so I'm not going to drink it.
I would be so like, how also like God. Yeah. I feel like he's making a little bit of a presumption of what God wants, because I feel like if I were God, and again, there's no proof that I'm not.
Right.
If
we welcome anybody to step up and prove it.
If I saw so this dude David, who's supposed to be like my guy.
Yeah.
If I'm watching, which I am because I'm invested.
At this point.
Right. Just checking in, seeing what's going on. I see him ask for this water that I can see is clearly going to be a little difficult to get. And then I watch these 3 people go and get it, and they do a cool job, and they bring it back, and then he pours it on the ground. I'd be like, what? Drink that shit.
Yeah.
These people worked real hard for you.
Yeah.
I didn't say you couldn't drink it. Why? Stop doing this. Yeah. Why am I your scapegoat? Stop it.
David, you need to start drinking water. All he drinks is Mountain Dew.
It's always dehydrated.
Yeah.
And saying crazy shit. I don't know why I can't get good help. Maybe it's because I keep asking men to do it. I don't know.
Maybe I should ask a woman for No. Nobody will listen to that. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but you're probably not. The 3, didn't David already have a group of fighters with a number for a name? And you're right. After that, we get this little bit. It says, now Abishai, son of Zeruiah, the brother of Joab, was chief of the 30. Mm-hmm. With his spear, he fought against 300 men and killed them and won a name beside the 3. He was the most renowned of the 30 and became their commander, but he did not attain to the 3.
Is Joab one of the 3?
No. He's a commander. So I would imagine he's probably above all of them.
Are these like tribe chiefs?
No, these are like warriors, like groups of warriors under him. So these would be like, Star Wars shit better than I do. But there's those guards in one of the more recent movies. They were dressed all in red that were around the emperor or whatever, and there was like some name for them, like Knights of Gibraltar or something. I can't remember. But
I think you're complaining them with the Knights of Ren.
Maybe I'm thinking of that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of thinking of. So a group of warriors, that have a catchphrase and shit. like Roosevelt's Rough Riders, a group of warriors.
Okay.
Right? So.
It's kind of I don't know. I think they keep swapping terminology, and always in all the other stories, chiefs were the heads of the different tribes of Israel, right? Weren't they? There's judges for a while, and those seem to be like heads of tribes. Oh, I just thought the heads of the tribes of Israel were called chiefs or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
I can't.
So there's the 3. Do we know? Do we find out who the 3 are?
They list them, but
the names we don't know. Okay, and then there's Abishai because they say there's 33 chiefs, right?
No, so there's actually 37 of these.
Oh, in a row.
One of them, though, was Uriah, who was Bathsheba's husband.
Okay, he did.
So he was in the 30.
He did.
So and I don't know if they updated that. Like,
there's the
did they
3
bring in new
plus
people?
30 plus Abishai.
I think so.
Or is Abishai in the 30?
Yeah, I think he's in the 30.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the most renowned of the 30.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And became the commander of the 30.
Right.
So Joab's the commander of his army.
Sure.
But then Abishai is the commander of the 30.
The elite forces.
Within the army. Yeah.
Yes. The Navy SEALs.
Yeah, totally. Like Navy SEAls.
Yeah.
And then he's got like his like Black Ops people.
Right. The three.
Yeah, that
who have no names as far as we know, the listeners know, because Josh won't tell us their names.
Right. Because it's a biblical secret.
If you say their names in a row, you unlock some sort of portal.
Right.
To
that time, and nobody wants to do
well
that.
In Bethlehem.
Who would want to fucking go there and be in this
wouldn't.
Time? No,
certainly.
No.
Although I could have been the wise lady who chopped off the head.
Yeah, and we don't know you're not.
And nobody can say that I'm not.
No, I've got an idea.
Hello, fellow. Gibeonite? What are we?
Gibeonites?
Anyway, let's cut off this guy's head.
Yeah.
Nothing but trouble.
Turns out you didn't even like go back in time or anything. So that's it. That's it. Yep. That's
fun stuff.
Next time we're going to be covering, I'm very excited actually to cover one of my most favorite inconsistencies. Excuse me, I mean perfections in the Bible.
Perfections?
Yes.
Not imperfections.
I mean, obviously it is an imperfection, but
you called it a perfection.
That's what the Christians would say.
What?
You know,
Christians are they confused about what the word perfection means?
Well, yes. I'm just saying they say the Bible's perfect.
Oh.
So therefore this isn't an error.
Okay.
It's a perfection.
All right. I get what you're doing. Sorry. My brain didn't get there quite very fast.
Thanks for stepping all over that joke.
Fuck you.
You're the one who fucked up my joke.
Well, it must not have been a very good joke.
That's fair. Anyway, we also get a bunch of stories that are only found in Chronicles, but weren't in the much older books of Samuel and Kings.
Cool.
I'm still working on the script for the next episode. I'm not sure if we are getting to anything beyond the inconsistency, the imperfection, because we're going deep into that.
Oh,
yeah,
like elbow deep.
It's something that pisses me off when it's like, it's so fucking obvious that this is an error. What the fuck is wrong with you if you're not agreeing with that?
Yeah.
You know, like, so we're digging into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it when Josh gets fiery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting awkward with the three of us here. Maybe we need to turn off this podcast.
Oh, were you talking to whoever's listening like they're the third person in the room?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Cut all of this stuff out. I'm an idiot today.
Well, that's how you guarantee it's going to stay in. So look forward to that. They all live miserably ever after. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. Help us grow the audience by sharing us with your friends or giving us a share on social media. And we love hearing from you. You can reach out on our website at bsfa.cc.
Poop, poop, poop.
I think that's perfect. All right. Good.
I am perfect.
You
You're right.
are perfect.
I'm so perfect.
And so pretty.
Oh.